Jesus enjoyed wine. Jesus had blisters. I'm supposed to be thinking about the mystery of the Incarnation and what it means for us, and somehow, bizarrely, these are the two thoughts that keep popping into my head. Jesus enjoyed wine. Jesus had blisters. Perhaps it is also because I'm thinking of a particular day in my life. In June 2007, I climbed a mountain in the Lake District. My husband and I were staying with friends, and the night before the walk we'd all gathered around the table and talked and laughed and shared a good Shiraz and eaten our fill of beef stew. The next day it was bright and sunny for our walk. As we walked steeply uphill, I could feel my calf muscles stretching, the kind of pain that's strangely pleasurable. We grew warm and sweaty, and we could feel the cooling wind on our faces as we climbed higher. Then when we reached the summit, we felt that buzz of endorphins from the exercise, and we looked out over endless fields and lakes below us. The sandwiches we ate at the top tasted like the best food we'd ever had. Our bodies are essentially good, and that's what I felt that day. So often as Christians, we have taken on Plato's view of the body as bad, forgetting that when God created woman and man, he said it was all good. Our five senses, sight, touch, hearing, taste, smell, are all good gifts and help us to enjoy the world God created. We forget that God once had a body. In Jesus, God's good and holy nature was housed in meat. We forget that the Word became flesh and lived among us. Jesus didn't float around or appear and disappear like an angel. He didn't disown or despise his body. He laughed, he walked, he ate, he drank. He lived among us. Our bodies are good, but they are also limited. That evening in June, I was so exhausted I couldn't even lift my head. I have an autoimmune illness, and by pushing myself physically that day, I had inadvertently exacerbated it. From that day on, my walking was badly affected. That was the last mountain I climbed. I became a wheelchair user. So often it's not the goodness of our bodies we're aware of, but their frustrations and limitations. Whether it's from illness, accident, old age, tiredness, a dissatisfaction with our appearance, or our bodies not doing what we want, we feel that limitation, the shadow of death, the curse of the fall. And it's at those times that we need to remember the Incarnation. Psalm 103 says God has compassion on us because he knows how we are formed. He remembers that we are dust. Jesus experienced the agony of the cross, and he felt extreme anxiety and mental distress in Gethsemane. But he also knows what it is like to have those small, daily frustrations. He was hungry in the desert. The disciples once woke him up on the boat when he was exhausted and trying to nap. He walked on dusty roads. He would have had blisters. Jesus enjoyed wine. Jesus had blisters. He understands our weaknesses and frustrations, our joys and pleasures. Our bodies are good. Our bodies are frustrating. And we have a God who understands both.